This is my response to Biden's little interview on the gun ban on Google's Fireside chat. Load of crap. All of these quotes were taken from Biden in his Fireside chat. So let me get this right. What Biden is saying is, and I quote, "It is true that the vast majority of gun deaths in America are not the consequence of the use of an assault weapon. But that begs the question of whether or not assault weapons have any utility." Let me break this quote down for you. Basically, what Biden is saying here is that this ban has nothing to do with. Let me stop for a second, because I'm not going to refer to the AR and the AK through this whole letter as assault weapons, because they're not. For all intents and purposes, I will refer to them as weapons in question. Anyways. Stupid page. That this ban has nothing to do with the weapon or weapons in question. All he is saying is that since one happened with this style of weapon, that it was a good time for the liberals to jump on the bandwagon and try to convince the public that it was a good time to get rid of a weapon or weapons that his party doesn't like. As to the second part of his statement, but that begs the question of whether or not the weapons have any utility. Here's the thing. If the weapons in question are not the cause of the problem, shouldn't the question be, why would we ban something that isn't the problem in question? So again, what he is saying is the weapons. Sorry, lost my place again. So again, what he is saying is that even though the weapons in question are not the problem, we should still ban them because they don't serve a utility. Like, say, defending a home, a rifle used at hundreds of thousands of sporting events, even though it isn't the problem. Think about that for a second. Haven't the president and Biden been saying this whole time that due to 20 children and 6 teachers' deaths, that something needs to be done right now to curb this violence? So their answer is to ban something that, quote unquote, isn't even the cause of the problem. If that doesn't bother you right there, then you need to quit watching this video, because it's only going to get worse from here. Moving on. Biden can also be quoted saying this ban should go through because police organizations are outgunned. So out of the approximate 290 million guns in this country, the police are worried that they are outgunned because of these weapons in question. Where? I was unaware of any such thing. I was taking my concealed test, and the cop handed me his fully automatic M16 to let me shoot it. No one saw me pulling a fully automatic weapon out of my trunk. I have never, ever seen a police officer even ask a single person in this country if they own or have in their immediate possession one of these weapons in question. I am an EMT, I am ex-military, I am a father, and I have dealt with officers on a regular basis, and have never has one of them even said one word about one of these weapons in question. until I made mention that I had a couple of these weapons in question. Then the questions were all in the form of, "Ooh, what sight do you have on that? I don't like that one. I prefer ... Once I even had an officer at the jail that I worked at even try to sell me one of his guns. So this statement is a lie driven to undermine the civilian population that doesn't know any better into thinking that their neighbors are armed to the teeth with weapons that will take out the local SWAT team, the law-abiding citizen that collects, and the other ones who get these weapons for hunting and sporting, and the other ones who get these weapons for defense of their homes, businesses, family, and life. These are the people he is referring to, not the criminals. He did not say that the criminals have the police outgunned. He said the people with these weapons have the police outgunned. Again, another quote. But because it doesn't solve the whole problem, but because it solves a little bit of the problem, then you shouldn't do it. I don't buy that logic, or I don't buy the logic on that, is what he said. But he buys the logic that even though these weapons aren't the cause of the problem, that they should be banned to the American public. That makes absolutely no sense. This quote bothered me to no end. Not because he said it, but because he is flat out wrong. He said that Americans, quote, don't have the right to buy an automatic weapon, end quote. I'm sorry. Did the person that the president chose to give him an accurate account for why we should have a ban give a statement that was totally untrue? Yes. You as an American citizen, thank you, buddy. You as an American citizen may own a fully automatic weapon. They are referred to by the ATF as a Class 3 weapon. But not only do you have to jump through thousands of loops and government officials' approval to have one of these weapons, you also have to sign your rights over to the government. That means that when you are allowed, quote, to buy said weapon, that they can stop at your house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to search your entire property. Not just the gun's location and the papers for it. They can go through your sock drawer if they want to. The other problem is the ban put in place only covers weapons that were made after the ban date of 1986, which means anything made before 1986, full auto, you as a civilian can still purchase, depending on state laws. Which in turn means that there are a limited supply of said weapons, that in order to buy one of these weapons at this date and time, you have to be super rich, because a basic bottom of the line M16 will run you approximately $17,000. A small fortune. I don't know a single person in my life that has that kind of dispensable income for a weapon. So again, the guy who is supposed to be reporting all of these facts and figures, excuse me, facts and figures to the president of a ban for a weapon that wasn't the cause of the problem, and doesn't even know current law states that you as a civilian can legally own a fully automatic weapon. You just have to be rich enough to buy it and get it approved through a lot of government officials and sign your rights as a civilian over. Two more things. wrong with this man's statement. In all of his comments about owning a weapon for sporting and self-protection, there was absolutely no mention of owning a weapon for protection from their own government, which is the whole point of the Second Amendment. I don't care what you say, that was the whole point of the Second Amendment. Period. And finally, he said, a weapon that I could own that would exceed the need, that would go beyond my need for protection or legitimate sporting activities. Think about that too. He's basically saying here that there is no need to have 30 rounds when 5 will do. Well, that's all well and good, but how many people are going to break into your house tomorrow? How many chances do you need to shoot them? That's ridiculous. My personal carry Glock holds 16 rounds. Why would I want to lessen my chance of staying alive in an altercation with fewer rounds? The other part of that is legitimate sporting event. So what he is saying here is that since it is not a sporting event in his eyes, that it holds no weight. It's basically saying the same thing, and this is a crude example. It's basically saying the same thing that like a NASCAR engine has too much horsepower to be considered a legitimate sport. You're thinking what I'm thinking. I will leave you with one final quote from Biden himself about this gun ban and who's trying to take your rights away. It is a respected and honored tradition, and it is not a cause of the problems we have. The man that's trying to ban these guns just admitted that it's not the cause of the problems we have. The hell does that tell you? I'll leave it to you to decide.